Here's what we want to do in this episode to balance that wisdom that many of us have heard in Christian couples. There are 5 reasons why just give him sex does not work. Covenant should not be one-sided. If advice only benefits one person in the union, it's not wisdom, it's imbalance dressed.
1 out of 5 women have experienced being raped, which means there is a very real chance that your wife has had a negative sexual experience where her power of choice was taken. Even if she never told you, you're an adult now, you're in a safe relationship, but our bodies keep score. And if your partner has not properly healed from that and then been reintroduced to a healthy sexual relationship, their only point of reference is the abuse. Sex shouldn't feel like you're placing an order at a drive-thru window. Husbands, I really need you to hear this. You cannot guilt, pressure, or complain your wife into wanting you. That is not how desire works. And my thing is this, and I hope this isn't too raw, but you can get a nut anywhere.
If the best marriage advice you've gotten for a hurting wife is just give him sex, you're not protecting a covenant, you're protecting a tradition. And that tradition has left a lot of Christian bedrooms cold, resentful, and disconnected. Today, Dana and I are going somewhere where most Christian podcasts won't go. Because here's the truth. Sex is one of the top reasons Christian couples quietly fall apart. Not because they stopped loving Jesus, not because they stopped loving each other, but because nobody taught them how to talk about it, ask for what they need, and heal from what has been broken.
Ken and I have been married for almost 20 years, and we've walked through seasons where intimacy was not easy, it was not automatic, and definitely wasn't something we were going to fix with a guilt trip and a Bible verse. We have learned that you can love Jesus, love your spouse, and still need wisdom and help in the bedroom. So if you're exhausted, if you feel more like roommates than lovers, if you've been faking it, avoiding it, or white knuckling your way through it, this episode is for you. We are about to flip some bad theology and put you onto something that actually works.
All right, great people, what it do? My name is Ken.
And I am Dana.
We want to welcome you back to BennettLife TV. If you're new here, this channel is for couples who want to stay faithful, stay connected, and stay together, even when intimacy feels complicated. And if you've been here for a while, you already know we don't do fluff. We talk about the stuff people whisper about. Today, we're addressing a phrase that gets passed around Christian circles like it's a scripture. Just give him sex.
I had to resist the urge to boo. But listen, we want to lovingly but clearly tell you why that advice can be harmful. The advice given about wifely duties is one of the main reasons I stopped attending conferences for wives, especially pastors' wives, if I can just be honest with you. In a season where I was suffering from real pain in my marriage, all I kept hearing was the equivalent of telling a person with a broken leg to just go walk it off. So imagine limping into a doctor's office and being told to take Tylenol and go back to work. No x-rays, no physical exam, no review of prior medical history, just a one-size-fits-all prescription. And that's what that advice felt like to me. I was limping through a struggling marriage and no one seemed to care. We were scolded for not holding up our end of the bargain as wives, our husbands were complaining, and we needed to just suck it up and get our acts together. That was my experience. And here's where it got dangerous. I actually started to believe them.
Wow.
I felt like if the woman of God that I admired, or the women of God that I admired, had this as their only advice, maybe the problem really was me. And it left me feeling scarred, hopeless, shameful, and confused.
Now, if I can just be clear, in hearing the story, because, you all, I know when we go to conferences and they split us up, normally the men, we talking about how to preach the Bible better, how to grow our churches.
You really?
Yes,
that's not what we're hearing on our end. We're hearing y'all are in there complaining about us.
No, it doesn't even, no. I know I haven't been in a circle where that has come up. And I've been in a lot of pastoral
maybe y'all are
circles.
having these conversations privately with other
possibly,
pastors because it sure comes back to us like our husbands are very
There
unhappy
was a
in the
season.
bedroom.
There was a season where I did complain about the lack of physical intimacy to someone I held in high regard. I respected. Okay, so there that wasn't, and there was truth to that.
And it's in the fact that it became the topic of so many sessions. I don't think that's coincidence. I think a lot of husbands were feeling that.
Okay, then
frustration
speak to
and
that for a second. Then, so if that is the issue for a lot of husbands, specifically those of us who are serving in positions of leadership in ministry, you may want to. We're just assuming folks know who we are. Do they know we pastors?
I mean, we're pastors.
So, but yeah, we lead a growing church here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and so our duties expand beyond, of course, the scope of BennettLife TV. We do a lot, but our primary, time is spent in growing a church here,
Right.
and so we are privy to be in rooms where there are a lot of pastors and first ladies, as they call in the church. And so to be clear, I didn't even know that this was happening. I had no idea. I didn't know that you were being told in these rooms, candidly speaking, I just did not know that that's what y'all were being told. Because, I wanted, and I've always been clear in our season where we were not as connected physically, I wasn't just interested in you enduring me and putting up with me. I wanted you to enjoy me. I didn't want your obedience at the expense of your personal peace. Now, I appreciate that there was a season where you kind of just, I just want to make sure that he's taken care of. And I didn't even just want your body, but then lose access to your heart. For me, I wanted you. And that's always been my argument. It's not that I just want to sleep with anybody. I really want you. I'm interested in you. I get enjoyment in being with you. And so here's what we want to do in this episode to balance that wisdom that many of us have heard in Christian couples. There are 5 reasons why just give him sex does not work. I'm going to say it again. There are 5 reasons after we have taken the time to prayerfully journey for ourselves, put notes together for this episode, and prayerfully think through what we felt you all needed to hear. There are 5 legitimate reasons why just give him sex or just give her sex doesn't work. And we want to break them down, and we want to show you why this advice doesn't work and what it actually produces. So number 1, it prioritizes the need of one partner over the other one. And it's usually favored towards the husband.
Right.
Never mind how the wife is feeling, as long as the husband is sexually satisfied, that is the fast track to resentment. Covenant should not be one-sided. Right. If advice only benefits one person in the union, it's not wisdom, it's imbalance dressed in religious language. You want to speak to that for a second?
Absolutely. It highlights or it centers one person's needs over the other. Yeah. And it really does make the other person hyper fixate on their partner versus what do we need together.
That's good.
And so it just becomes all about the partner, and you kind of start to marginalize or minimize other things that are going on in the marriage or even your own needs. And so you check out sexually saying, okay, my only priority is to make sure he's good. Right. And I'm not even going to focus on what I might be needing.
That's good. That's good. Which leads to number 2. It reduces a woman to a sex object, void of feelings and void of choice.
Yes.
Sex should always be mutual. At no time should one partner feel made to do something they don't want to do. Now listen, this doesn't mean you won't occasionally say yes when you're tired or you're not fully in the mood. But that should not become the norm, or should it be the expectation? Yeah. When sex becomes something you owe, it stops being intimacy and it starts being a debt collection.
Ooh, child. And we know none of us like fooling with debt collectors. Number 3, it's triggering, especially if the spouse has had prior experiences where their choice has been taken away. And I want to give you some numbers. I know it's usually Ken who provides you guys with the research and the statistics. You guys got a little research
today?
But come on, research. Too. 1 out of 5 women have experienced being raped. Almost half, 47% of women in the United States have experienced sexual violence of some sort. And the majority of them have had that experience before the age of 25. So before we're even fully coming into our womanhood, almost 50% of women have experienced some sort of sexual violence against them, which means there is a very real chance that your wife has had a negative sexual experience where her power of choice was taken, even if she never told you. Because sometimes we make the mistake of thinking, because my partner has never shared something with me, that must not be their story. A lot of women stay silent about sexual assault, rape, harassment, those types of things. So making her feel obligated or pressured to give her body sexually may feel a lot like the abuse she's already survived.
Wow.
And once that association is made, your bedroom stops being a sanctuary and it becomes a trauma response.
My goodness. Wow. You want to speak on, just expound on that a little bit? Because I feel like that's, how can a wife lovingly share with her husband? Because I realize not every marriage have what we have in terms of transparency, honesty, openness. Like, I know your history, and your history has helped shape how we do life together.
Right.
You want to speak to a wife for a second?
Yeah.
Or just not just a wife, but a young woman that
I will speak to any person, because we
often
that's true. Make the assumption that sexual trauma only happens to women, and that's not true.
That's true.
Now, I gave you statistics specifically for women, but believe it or not, particularly in minority communities, sexual abuse among young men and boys is common as well.
That's true.
Abuse and oppression just happens in marginalized communities more frequently than it does in other communities. And so chances are your spouse, whether male or female, has had some sort of inappropriate sexual experience at a young age, where either they weren't old enough to consent or their ability to consent was taken away from them. Yeah. And so I'm fortunate that you're somebody that I could talk to and be open and vulnerable with very early on in our relationship. Even as friends, you made it easy for me to tell you hard things, and I didn't feel like I was being judged. Right. And that's key, because I've heard couples say, I shared with my partner that I was triggered, or I have a hard time doing X, Y, or Z in the bedroom because of past things. And the partner's response was somewhere along the lines of, well, you need to get over it. Or that happened a long time. Or it wasn't me who did that. And so it invalidates that person's feelings, and now they feel traumatized all over again. Because what happens to most victims of sexual abuse is that they're not believed. Their feelings are invalidated. They hold it in secret. Wow. They tell someone, and that person doesn't do anything to make it better or protect them, and then they're re-victimized. And so a lot of people who have experienced some sort of sexual trauma have not just been victimized once, but more than once. Yeah. And so there's this pattern of, anytime I'm vulnerable, anytime I share, anytime I try to step into this space, my feelings are invalidated, I'm made to feel shame, and then I'm victimized again. My goodness. Wow. And so we tend to think that, oh, well, that was 20 years ago. That was 10 years ago. You're an adult now. You're in a safe relationship. But our bodies keep score.
Yes, that's good.
Our bodies keep score. And if your partner has not properly healed from that and then been reintroduced to a healthy sexual relationship, their only point of reference is the abuse.
Yeah, that's good. Wow.
And so we have to sometimes just slow down and walk through what your partner may be experiencing, and stop making your partner feel as if that's an excuse.
That's good.
Walk with them through the healing.
That's good.
Walk with them through the healing.
Wow. And thank you. I appreciate you sharing that perspective, because you never know what someone is dealing with. You never know. And I realize a lot of relationships that are existing, particularly in the Christian community, you know, we've not really shared the scars. We've not really shared the trauma out of fear of being judged, labeled, dismissed, or whatever. And it's sad, but my prayer is that episodes and channels like this will help give you the courage to lovingly share, you know, what God has brought you through, so that there can be mutual understanding brought into the marriage that helps you learn how to support each other. So I think that's important. Let's talk about number four.
That phrase, just give him sex, it turns sex into a chore. And chores don't build desire. I don't want to feel like I'm on someone's to-do list somewhere between folding laundry, calling the plumber, and taking out the trash. I don't want my husband to think of sex with me as laborious as mowing the grass or something like that. But this is exactly what happens when we reduce intimacy to just give me what you got. Number 5, it makes sex transactional, not covenantal.
That's good.
Sex shouldn't feel like you're placing an order at a drive-through window. Like, I'm ordering up a side of, I was going to say something inappropriate. Let's move on. There should be closeness and connection beyond the physical. That's what makes it covenant, not just contact.
Yeah.
And so then when we have all of those, all 5 of those things happening at once, you get Seeley in The Color Purple.
That's your favorite movie.
That's my favorite movie. I know not everybody's seen that movie, but it is my favorite movie. And Seeley is the young one, one of the main characters in the movie, and she describes what sex with her husband, who she calls Mr. That should tell you something right there. She doesn't even call him by his first name; she calls him Mr. Was like, and she says he just climb on top of me and do his business. She's describing this to someone else what sex is like with her husband. He just climb on top of me and do his business. No connection, no tenderness, no presence, just endurance. And here's what grieves me. Seeley isn't describing a one-night stand. She's not describing being assaulted by a stranger. She's describing her husband in her own home, in her own bed.
And if I can just jump in here for a second and say, when we give wives just to give him sex advice and nothing else, I think the fruit is evidence.
Right.
We are not protecting covenant. We're producing more Seeleys.
Right.
Women who are physically present but emotionally gone. Wives who say yes with their mouths while their souls are screaming no. Marriage that looks intact on the outside but hollow on the inside. This, in my honest assessment, is not what God has designed for marriage. The marriage bed is supposed to be a place of safety and not survival, a place of presence, not performance, a place where both you and your spouse are fully there, not one person just getting through it.
Absolutely.
And we want to, if that is a season that you're in right now, my prayer is that God pulls you guys out of that you all learn how to get back into the sacred rhythm of enjoying each other so that you guys can do life together well instead of just doing time together.
Absolutely.
It's good.
So if the advice you've been given has turned your bedroom into something that feels more like the Color Purple experience, then the covenant that you signed up for, it's not because you're broken. It's because you've been given broken advice. And that's why we want to give you something different.
It's good. It's good.
Husbands, I really need you to hear this. You cannot guilt, pressure, or complain your wife into wanting you. That is not how desire works. There is a principle in psychology called choice theory. And the core idea is that people only do what they genuinely want to do.
That's good.
And so you might be thinking, well, I can make her sleep with me if I pressure her enough. And technically you might get what you want, but here's the issue. The reason she's complied isn't because of the pressure. It's because she wants to avoid the consequences of saying no. And that's not desire, that's survival.
And as a husband, I think the question that we should be thinking through and what we should be doing instead is start by asking for what you want clearly, without guilt attached. Then listen, and I mean really listen, not just to her words, but to her body language, to her energy, to what she's not saying. Because here's the truth. If she wants to, she will. And if she says she wants to, but keeps continuing not to follow through, then that intel becomes information. And this is not rejection, that's a signal. Something else is going on with your partner, and our job as husbands isn't to push her harder. Our job is to get curious enough to care enough about what exactly it is. Because you don't want a wife that just tolerates you. You want a wife who actually wants to be with you.
Right.
And you'll never get that through control. You can only get that through connection.
We were watching, I know people are like, what? We were watching The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all pray for us. I love like gangster mobster movies,
So
that
do
sort
I.
of thing. And I introduced it to my husband
no
and kind
killing.
of created this monster,
There's no
right?
shooting. If there's no
So,
drug exchange.
every
if
year-
Border Patrol is not involved. If none of those things are happening, I don't want to see it. I love it.
What's crazy is when we met, this man,
Oh my
his
goodness.
favorite channel was
that-
Lifetime.
that was
He
I
used
was
to
going,
sit up,
I was going through something.
watching Lifetime movies,
I was
crying
going
over
through
the
something.
neighbor who fell in love with the new man in town. And I was just like, what is going on
I was
here?
going through something,
And
but you didn't have
now-
to put my business out there like that. Though. I was going through something, but
You were.
Does Lifetime even still exist? I don't even.
does.
Oh, okay, I haven't.
Oh, now you want to act like you're too good for like, it doesn't even exist. You know you still sneak and watch Lifetime.
I do not.
People, anyway. So
Oh,
we were
my
watching
God.
The Sopranos, and there's this episode where Tony Soprano and his crew, they go over to Italy to handle some
Yes,
business. And one of his guys, Paulie, has hired a hooker. And, you know, they're done doing their business or whatever, and she's getting ready to get dressed to leave. And he says, wait, I didn't say you could leave yet. And so she lights a cigarette and lays on the bed, and Paulie is just talking. He's like talking about when he grew up and his family and where they're from and all that. And she's like, yeah, okay, all right, how wonderful. And you could tell this was just a transaction for
yeah.
her.
Wow.
Once the transaction was done, she was ready to go. He's sitting here acting like they really had some sort of connection. And because she was just there because there was money on the table, she was
good.
not interested in building anything with him. She was just there because this was her job.
Wow.
This is what happens in marriages when we come up with these concepts of just give him sex. You have a wife
That's good.
who has performed the
Wow.
deed,
That's good advice.
but is not interested in connecting with you at all.
Wow.
It's the equivalent of her laying there like, okay. And that's not what we want.
Wow.
And I know some people are selfish and just say, you know, hey, that's fine with me. But that means you are truly disconnected from your partner if you don't care about the fact of whether or not they even desire to be close to you. And my thing is this, and I hope this isn't too raw, but you can get a nut anywhere. You don't even need a partner for that.
It's perfectly fitting for Dr. D on BennettLife TV.
I'm just saying, for real, you don't even need someone with you. You can do that yourself.
That's good.
The whole point of doing this with your partner is to bring oneness and closeness and intimacy and connection. If all you're doing is getting a nut out of this, you are missing a big part of the point.
That's good.
And so I think we have to move beyond, I just need a release, because you can handle that yourself. It's about the connection.
That's good. I like it. That was your point of view today.
It was.
That was your point of view today. So here's what we want to do is we want to close out this episode by walking you through, what Dana and I did to turn things around and turn the tide. And here's what changed. Number one, I changed the source of my motivation. I made a decision to focus more on her. That's the first thing I had to do. I had to stop focusing on what I wanted and started focusing on what she actually needed. And that's counterintuitive because we as men have been taught the golden rule as kids. Treat others the way you want to be treated. But here's the problem with that in marriage, especially in the bedroom. If I want more sex, I'm probably being more sexual with my wife, initiating more initiative towards her, probably touching her a little bit more and throwing off more hints. But that's what I wanted. What she actually craves is romance, emotional connection, feeling seen before being wanted.
Absolutely. And I was doing the same thing in reverse, the opposite. I wanted more romance. And so I'm probably being more romantic with him with words and affirmation and quality time and emotional conversations because that's what I want. But what he actually craves, physical closeness, touch, and intimacy.
So, in other words, I was giving sex to get sex and she was giving romance to get romance. And we kept missing each other in that regard.
Absolutely. It's like two people shouting at each other in different languages and then wondering why nobody feels heard. So we had to learn how to speak each other's language. And I'll just insert right here. After a while, we both started pulling back because we weren't getting what we wanted. And I felt like every time I initiated with romance, it was signaling to you, okay, now it's time, we can do it. And I felt like every time I let you touch me, or it was like, it's time to do it, it's time to do it. So it kind of made me shy to even initiate holding your hand or rubbing your back, because I was like, it's only going to lead to sex. And I think for you, it was like, well, do I want to bring the flowers, and do I want to bring the chocolate? Do I want to put on music? Because she may or may not respond with sex. And so it led to this disconnect there.
That's good.
So let's talk about a little bit more about what we learned along this journey. Dr. Tony Alessandra calls this the platinum rule. Let me introduce the platinum rule to you. So the golden rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Stop giving what you want. Start giving what they need. So that's the platinum rule.
That's good. So husbands, I need y'all to hear me in this episode. If you want more sex, be more romantic. Not because romance earns you sex, but because romance is the language her desire speaks. That's what opens her up emotionally and eventually physically.
And I will say here, we're using romance, but it could be whatever her love language is.
That's cool. That's true.
Because some women aren't romantic. Like, they could care less about the candles and the flowers and the back rubs and that kind of thing. They want you to go get that oil change and pick up the kids from daycare.
Right.
And wives, if you want more romance or whatever it may be more open about physical connection. Not because sex earns you flowers, but because physical touch is often how most men feel emotionally close to you. And that's what fills his tank and makes him want to pursue your heart. You're not manipulating each other. You're learning each other and speaking to each other in the language that works.
That's good.
And that's not compromise.
That's covenant. I like that. That's not compromise. That's covenant. I pray that what we've shared today has helped at least bring you out of the tradition of just give him sex. Family, if this episode has helped you put words to something you've been feeling, I want you to do us a favor today. Firstly, I want you to subscribe to BennettLife TV if you haven't already. Secondly, we want to hear from you. Comment and tell us what part of this today's episode hit home, or what question you want us to answer next. And then thirdly, this is a big one. I need you to help us grow on Instagram. Go to Instagram and follow us at Together360. And let me explain why the name matters. We drop the vowels on purpose because in a lot of marriages, the vowels are what go missing first. The I do becomes I'm done. The warmth becomes silent. The connection becomes distance. And you still look like a couple on paper, but the voice of the marriage is gone.
So Together 360, and again, it's TGTHR. So together without the vowels, 360 is our reminder that we're putting the voice back into the bedroom, the language back in intimacy, and the connection back in covenant. And we've got a goal to help transform the bedrooms of 1 million couples, and we can't do it without you. So take the bedroom quiz, share it with your spouse, and use it as a conversation starter, not a weapon. And if you know a couple who's been wounded by bad marriage advice, send them this episode, because just give him sex isn't the gospel, and you do not have to bleed in silence to be a godly wife.
All right, great people. We love you all. We're praying for you, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Until next time.